So there's another security vulnerability, and I thought it was a perfect opportunity to send a video out to all of the social media channels, just because in the WPCrafter Facebook group, this happened to someone last night. Their website got hacked. And if you follow the channel, you know that my website had a problem about 3 weeks ago, and it had to do with something called a zero-day vulnerability. Essentially, that means a security researcher finds a problem, a security vulnerability, and publishes it versus doing the responsible thing, which is once you've discovered it, you go to the plugin author and you say, I found this vulnerability, and leave it up to them to take it serious or not. But instead it was published, and this was a vulnerability in several plugins, and so I hate like having a video like this. But anyways, I'm gonna pull it up right here. So you can see right here on the WordPress blog, and they were actually not one of the first to report this. So it has to do with this plugin right here. It's the yellow pencil plugin. Now there's a version in the WordPress repository. You can see right here, WordPress took it down on April 8th. But if they take it out of the repository, that doesn't solve your problem if you had it installed. And I think it was in over 30,000 websites, and it might be on yours. It's a plugin that would allow you to kind of customize the way the website looks like visually without having to understand CSS and styling and coding and stuff like that. So that's what this plugin was doing. And I've actually come across it. I actually have purchased it a couple years ago, but haven't really used it. But what's scary is the vulnerable plugin is still available for sale on Envato, even though it was taken down from WordPress 3 days ago. And it's been kind of a known thing that this plugin has this problem. So if your website happens to be using this, and I've seen several page builder circle groups talking about this plugin, if you use this, you might want to go in and deactivate it immediately, just so that your website doesn't get hacked until they come out with a patch for it. Or you can consider some alternatives. There's Micro Themer, which does the same thing, and there's CSS Hero, which also does the same thing. I'm kind of surprised though that Envato would still be selling this, even though there's a known security vulnerability. So you can read about it here on the WordPress blog, but I came across a couple interesting things. First, I came across this blog right here. The URL is pluginvulnerabilities.com. And what I found interesting is this was the first blog that actually had an article about it on April 9th. So WordFence wasn't on top of it, or I don't know, they didn't have maybe a fix in their firewall for this. I don't know if they were on top of it, but they weren't announcing anything for, up until like 2 hours ago. So you have right here this blog. I think I'm going to start subscribing to this blog, because if they're going to let me know of a problem before anybody else, then that's the blog I want to be paying attention to. Anyways, so here was an article about it. This is interesting as well. There's a firewall by this company. It's called Ninja Firewall, and Ninja Firewall was a bit more on top of it, discovering that there were hackers trying to exploit this vulnerability. They were on top of it before WordFence was. Anyways, this is a free firewall. Maybe I'll have to install it, do a review on it, like dig into it a bit. And they have a premium service as well that's a very affordable for their firewall. Anyways, point of this video, Yellow Day. If you have it, go ahead and disable it. You'd want to do that immediately. I would do that if I were you. And the zero-day hacks, it's like not a common thing. So if you're new to WordPress or you are considering using WordPress, anything you put on the internet can be hacked into. I mean, we've seen governments hacked into, big corporations with entire security departments hacked into. Anything that's on the internet can be hacked into. The best advice I'd have for anyone that's using WordPress or considering using WordPress is, I know you might be experimenting, trying different plugins and things like that, but you might want to just be careful what plugins you install. And if you're not using something or you don't absolutely need something, don't have it installed, and remove it if you're not using it. So these are some things that you could do to kind of minimize this. But as someone that's been using WordPress for over 10 years, this is very rare for it to be like this. There was a problem about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks maybe now, and then for this to happen, it's kind of a rarity. But these things do happen. So I'm going to stick to the same advice I gave a couple weeks ago, that your best defense is always to have an off-site backup that you know how to restore. And I use the free updrafts for that. Now, I back my website up every 4 hours, but that's because it constantly changes. So if you have a website where you're not constantly adding or content, making changes, you might need a backup once a week or once a day or something like that. But for me, I back my website up every 4 hours, so if I had to go back in time, I would only lose at most 4 hours of comments on my website, user registrations, things along those lines. Anyways, always have a good backup for sure. That's always going to be what ends up covering you. At the end, there's obviously some things you can do proactively, such as using a security plugin such as iTheme Security or WordFence, or I'm going to test this new one out, or it's probably not new, this Ninja Firewall, and check that out. These are just basic things that you need that are good to have on your website. Malcare is another one. I use that. But even those can maybe not be on top of it. So in that scenario, a backup's really what's going to save you. A backup will cover your rear end. All right, I'm going to see if there's any comments here. I'm not going to make this live stream too long. Going out today on Facebook, the Facebook page, Facebook group, YouTube channel, and on Twitter. So that's new. Oh, and we got comments here. So let me just scan through these comments, and if there's any specific questions here, I will answer them. So we have a question, did you have Malcare installed? If that question was to me, I do have Malcare installed on my website. My website's not hacked. When I did have that problem with social warfare, at the time, I didn't have Malcare installed. I had a different one that I got rid of entirely. Some people know about that, but I got rid of that and I put Malcare in. I've been a lot more happy with Malcare in there. So I like a service where they guarantee, the guarantee that they're giving you is that they will clean. If they don't prevent something, they'll clean it. And that's a guarantee that Malcare has. But I haven't had any problems. Okay, here's a question. Can this happen even if you use security? So let me explain, what ends up happening in these scenarios. So you have companies like Security and like WordFence, and also this Ninja Firewall is doing it too. So I guess we got these three. Now what they're doing is you have the plugin installed, and it's seeing what's happening when people are trying to access your site. And what happens is it's paying attention to strange behaviors, and then it feeds that information back into the mothership. So if you're using security, it goes back to security. If you're using WordFence, it goes back to them. And they're able to spot a trend. And that's how they spot that a security exploit, a security hole is being exploited on a mass scale. And then that's what alerts them to it. And they write their blog posts, and then they write a patch. And if you are subscribed to their paid services, they push that new firewall rule right on out to your website in near real time. So they're responding to it for you. Now, when that happened to me with social warfare, I was using a tool called WebArcs, and I don't know if someone was just asleep behind the wheel. They certainly weren't doing that, monitoring it, real-time patches, taking it real serious, because their very own blog was hacked 8 hours after I told them that my website was hacked with their plugin. So they're sleeping behind the wheel type of thing. But you got guys like companies like Security and WordFence, they're monitoring this in real time so they can push that out to you. So that is that. And I don't believe that iTheme Security does it quite that way. I think you're really getting these real-time web firewalls from Security and from WordFence. And I think that other one, Ninja Firewall. All right. But you also have certain hosts, quality hosts. They're also monitoring for strange behaviors like this and doing proactive things as well. Okay, yes, Micro Douglas is saying thumbs up to Micro Themer. Of course, backup, backup, backup. A backup is what's going to save your rear end. I would never trust my web host to back up something that if it was lost, I would be done some serious harm. So I learned that lesson the hard way about 3 years ago when the web host I was using had a problem and lost a bunch of data. And that's when I learned you always have to have your backup that's off-site. You know how to access it and you know how to restore it. So let's see. Yes, Douglas is saying, doesn't take long to get convinced that WordFence is the measuring stick for the industry. Yeah, they are on top of it, and Security's like equally on top of it as well. Okay, here's a question. What is the best Security Pro plugin? That's a tough question because there's security plugins, but then there's these other level where they're doing all this real-time monitoring. Ultimately, I believe it's a problem that the web host should solve, and I partially think it's a problem that WordPress itself should solve, because in this situation right here, what we've been talking about, if the plugin that had this problem was removed from WordPress.org 3 days ago, but there's no way to notify the 30,000 plus websites that have the plugin. There's no way of notifying it. Now, the sad thing is, Envato probably has records of who's purchased this. Let's see how many sales. 13,000 sales, so it might be on 15,000 websites. But no, there's no taking it serious type of stuff, in my opinion. But that's just an opinion. You don't have to agree with it. All right. Oh, but to answer that question, you have this real-time proactive security coming from a WordFence and a Security. But even with them, I bet a couple might slip through the cracks. So, okay, let's see. Yes, Douglas is suggesting WordFence and iTheme Security. Those are good ones. Tony, I don't want you to get scared. Should I just leave WordPress? No, this is a extremely, so Tony's saying, wow, again, should I just leave WordPress? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. This is such a rarity that this is happening, and it's really affecting such a tiny little sliver of websites. But I know that someone's going to be watching this that has this on their website. So let's see. Yeah, this real-time monitoring firewalls, you're not getting with the free plugin. It's delayed. So even with WordFence, the free WordFence, you'll eventually get that firewall rule, but it's going to be delayed and it might be too late at that time. So, okay, still scanning through here. I think we're going to be wrapping this up soon. Getting a question about WP Time Capsule compared to updrafts. I've used both for my websites that are e-commerce related, and I want that backup to happen every hour. I'll put WP Time Capsule on there. For all the rest, I'll put updrafts. I really like updrafts. I like the granular control in it, and I like that it's never let me down. It's never let me down, not once. All right. Yes, actually, I like this comment. So I mentioned Tony was saying, should I leave WordPress? And then I like what Douglas is saying. He's saying that this is actually a strong point of WordPress. You can control the security environment where you get informed faster. And that's very true. If you're on some other platform, number one, I think legally now they might have to disclose if there was a hack or a security vulnerability, but you're at their mercy. You're at their mercy that they've done everything that they need to do, and they're doing everything they need to do currently to stop it. And the reality is that they fail all the time. So in the United States, we have this website called Credit Karma, creditkarma.com. And I don't know how far it reaches outside of the United States, but say you're an American, you go in there and you can get a credit report. But what it also does is it monitors these hacked login databases for references of you or your email address. And I got to tell you, if you have been using the internet, I guarantee your email address and a password you might have used in the past is in one of those hacked lists. And that's because all these websites that we use, everything has potential vulnerabilities. I'm not talking about WordPress. I'm talking about just maybe some web forum website or Yahoo. Yahoo was hacked, right? So a Yahoo email, and there's all of these things that happen. So it is a strong suit if it's WordPress that you do, at least you're in the driver's seat there. All right, so I did like that comment there. Okay. Oh, here's a great question. What's a DDoS attack and a good way to protect our websites from that? So that stands for denial of service. And what that means, a distributed denial of service, sorry. And I could be saying that wrong too. That's where a hacker will have control of, say, 100,000 computers. And the people that own those computers don't realize it. And they can push a button and have those 100,000 computers all go to a single website all at the same time. Well, web hosting accounts aren't capable usually of handling all that traffic. And so what happens is the website goes down. You actually see this happen recently with Elementor. You know, the bigger you get, the bigger of a target you get. But DDoS attacks happen to big, massive companies such as the news media outlet CNN. They had their website taken down for, it was like 2 years ago, for like an hour or two from a DDoS attack. So what you do there is, so for us little guys with our single websites, you can use something, your web hosting company should have some automated systems that detect a DDoS attack and mitigate it. So there's this mitigation hardware that they should have. This is one of the reasons I never recommend getting web hosting service from a little mom and pop shop, because they don't have the money to invest in this DDoS mitigation hardware. Alternatively, you can use Cloudflare. So the way that works is Cloudflare is free. But even on an extreme DDoS attack, Cloudflare isn't going to fully cover you, because you had Elementor using Cloudflare. So what Cloudflare is you make a change to your domain name's what's called the DNS server. So then what that means, you make that change. What that means is when someone visits your website, they first are going to Cloudflare, and then they're going through that service to your website. And there's a lot of hidden benefits to this, but they have the equipment and the software and the technical expertise to spot a DDoS attack and mitigate it. So that's that. Cloudflare. And actually, Cloudflare also has a setting. If you believe that you're under attack, you just turn it on and it will partially mitigate it. Okay, I hope some of this information is good and you don't mind me just clicking the button going live like this. You'll get all the ums and ahs and all that through it. And okay, so Here's someone. 2 of my websites were hacked today. I reinstalled everything from scratch. I learned to take a backup more frequently. What plugins do you recommend? Updrafts. Actually, search my channel. I have a video on how to back up your website using Updrafts. It's free. And then those backups get pushed into a Dropbox account. And then from Dropbox, if you have the Dropbox app on your computer, then it can get pushed to your local computer. I do this. I've got backups going back 6 months. Okay, should I use more than one security plugin? No, I would stick to one security plugin. Facebook comments are not working again. I think if you're leaving a Facebook comment in the Facebook group, for some reason, the service I'm using, Restream, isn't pulling those comments in. So I'll go and respond to those. If you're on the Facebook page, the comments are coming through, but not on the Facebook group. So I'm sorry, guys. All right, but I'm getting the YouTube ones. And this is also going out on Twitter. You guys should hook me up with some Twitter following. My Twitter account is so bare and desperate. Let's see. Okay, WordPress is impressive. It is impressive what they're doing. They were one of the first. Yes, and they do have a central dashboard. Okay, so let's see. I'm scanning through this, but... Okay, Karen's got a great question. She's saying, would you recommend adding a security plugin for Kinsta sites? A higher end hosting company, not your shared hosting company. So this is going to be your WP Engines, your Flywheel, your Kinsta. You're paying more. So for example, with Kinsta, you're starting out at around $30 per month. WP Engine about $35 per month. Depending on how much traffic, you're going to pay more. So it's a lot more than going to SiteGround and paying $6 a month, right? They have a lot more proactive security measures. So you're not having to worry as much about security for your website or backups, but I still recommend having your own backup and especially caching because they handle a lot of those things for you. That's what you're paying this extra premium for. Now there is an alternative, and I might make a video on it where you can take your WordPress website and you can make a static version of it. It's kind of technical. I'll make a video on it, but then it's mostly unhackable at that point. It's not good for a website that changes a lot. So it wouldn't work for me, but if you are building a website for yourself or for other people, and it's like a brochure website where it might get an update once a year of some information, it's going to be a really good solution for that, and it'll run a lot faster. Oh, Daniel saying new Australian laws require companies to let their customers and authorities know about a breach. And I think that might be the case here as well. Yeah, you know what? Let me pull just... To recap, if you're joining, Yellow Pencil is a plugin that's having a security vulnerability. If you have it, disable it right now. Okay. Yes. So these managed hosting providers, you don't usually need a lot of these things. All right. I think we're wrapping this up. Yes, you guys, I like you guys are all having the conversation. That's perfect because I want this to be like a community. All right. Yeah, that's good. I think we're going to wrap this live stream up. And thanks for joining. Wow, we got a nice group of people here. I might jump in and do more of these impromptu ones when there's anything like urgent or just to connect with you guys more. So just to recap, Yellow Pencil, if you have it on your website, disable it right now. And make sure you have a backup. You know where it goes and you know how to restore it. And I've got a video on that. Just use the free updrafts. It works perfectly fine. So other than that, guys, thanks for tuning in today, and I'll see you in the next video.